Hello all of you wonderful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I've got a rather special list for you today, because this is the thing, you're on the video game channel, you must love video games, right? In fact, we all champion certain video games as being, air quotes, perfect, but not to borrow a phrase from Scott, but are they really? Probably not. They're great, they're fantastic, exceptional even, but perfection is something that probably no game can attest to. In fact, when we think about things, all we're really saying is that there's one aspect of the game that is perfect, and the rest of it is just bloody good. So let's take a look at those pristine moments of perfection together. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games that do one thing perfectly. Now just remember, I'm not saying that the rest of the game was crap. I'm actually saying that they were bloody great games all the way through, but there's just one bit that just nails it so much that you can only give it a chef kiss for how good it was. Number 10, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Open World. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is rightly lauded as one of the greatest games of the generation. Nay, and say it with me, kids, of all time! However, while you immediately might associate this with the gameplay or graphics, both of which are brilliant by the way, it's actually the land of Hyrule itself which is the true star of the show. In this Zelda entry, Nintendo managed to create one of the most compelling open worlds ever put to pixel. The land is huge, but not terrifyingly so thanks to the fast travel system within the game, and it's chock full of side quests, shrines, NPCs, towns, and secrets that manage to make it feel bursting with content, but not bloated in the slightest. With enemies and wildlife roaming around freely, along with a myriad of places to explore, it genuinely feels like an adventure as you excitedly clamber over rocks and scale mountains. Very few open worlds manage to feel this unique and charming, showcasing why Breath of the Wild really did breathe life into the concept. Number 9, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, The Mechanics. Now, almost everyone in the gaming community is aware of the rift between the creator of the Metal Gear series, Hideo Kojima, and publisher Konami. While we may never know the true story of exactly what happened between the two, it is clear that the disagreements impacted the development of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, resulting in a game that didn't actually feel complete. The story just seems to end out of nowhere, and the last few missions are just retreads of missions from earlier on in the game. Even the open world leaves something to be desired, as at times there's just vast expanses of nothingness. But while this is true, the actual gameplay mechanics of the Phantom Pain are something to behold, particularly the stealth mechanics. This is clearly the most polished Metal Gear game ever in this regard. The way that Venom Snake can enter each mission with a customized set of equipment, including tranquilizers, inflatable decoys, or even foregoing stealth completely and going all guns blazing with rocket launchers and machine guns, is a long way from the brilliant PS1 original. It provides a sense of freedom that's almost overwhelming and results in one of the best off-script action sequences in any video game to date. Number 8, The Last of Us: The Characters. The Last of Us is one of the defining franchises of the last few years, with droves of fans and critics praising the title, and you know what? That's for good reason. It's got solid gameplay, great graphics, but front and center are the characters, which stand head and shoulders above the rest. From the heart-wrenching opening sequence to the final, emotionally draining 30 minutes, this game makes you care so much about Joel and Ellie, and this is all down to how realistically they appear. Both have flaws, both have weaknesses, and it's impossible not to get dragged into their relationship. Seeing each gradually warm to the other, particularly Joel after he closed himself off emotionally after the death of Sarah, truly makes you invested in what happens to the two of them, which is what makes that ending an absolute masterpiece. Number 7, Star Wars Battlefront 2: Taking You to a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Now let it be known, Star Wars Battlefront 2 has had a rocky launch, there is no doubt about that, and we all know about the microtransactions and pay-to-win models and the horrible, most downvoted Reddit comment of all time as EA tried to scramble to defend their project, but look at what we have now. We've seen so many additions, so many more heroes and villains, tons of new levels, tons of new modes, and now, as it stands, it's actually an unfairly maligned gem. That now, thanks to this game, millions of people have experienced the title and become completely immersed in the Star Wars universe. The galaxy has never looked better, and the sound design is one of the best that you will find in gaming. Every blaster bolt sounds as though it's come straight from the movie itself, and some of the maps, notably Naboo and Felucia, look exactly as they do in the films. If ever there was a game to make you feel like a clone trooper fighting in a gigantic galactic war, well, this is it. Number 6, Mario Kart: The Multiplayer. Pretty much everyone has played Mario Kart in some form or another, which means that pretty much everyone has felt the sting of a blue shell or the cruel jab from the gods of fate of being hit by your own green shell rebounding off a wall and then a red shell and then getting shunted off the track as you try to speed up again before being hit by lightning as you're going over a jump and then falling almost quickly as your tears of rage almost certainly are by now remembering that. But yet, I wouldn't change a thing about it because the multiplayer of Mario Kart is absolutely pristine. The love-hate relationship that this game creates is addictive. You just can't end on a loss, so you have to keep playing more and more and more. It's so simple to pick up and it is so easy to play as well that it's one of those gateway drug style games where you could pass the controller over to your nan and by the end of the evening she'll be screaming at bloody Bowser to get his f***ing ass in gear. Number 5. Final Fantasy IX. The setting. So when you think about the Final Fantasy series, the first 6 entries in this long-running franchise all share similar elements: airships, knights, castles, and an old-timey fantasy setting. Final Fantasy 7 and 8 stepped away from this. 7 particularly breathed new life into the series with its steampunk setting. Final Fantasy 8 also ditched the more traditional setting for something more modern and realistic. Well, apart from the magic and time travel elements and flying schools. Now, while these entries are both brilliant, Final Fantasy 9 felt like a true revitalization. This was especially true for Western audiences whose first exposure to a Final Fantasy game was likely Final Fantasy 7, so having a more traditional setting was a solid move by Square Enix at this point. Everything in the world of Gaia fits perfectly. The knights and mages make a welcome return along with castles and a more traditional hero's tale. The early hours on Mist Continent make it feel entirely mystical, especially with the Regency and airships. And you know what? All it makes me realize is that I really hope that it gets a remake in the same vein as Final Fantasy VII. But I think that's a long way off, don't you? Number 4. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Being a fantastic remake. So usually there's a lot of division when it comes to remakes. When choosing to remake something, there's a very fine line to tread. Do you either keep it the same or change it up slightly to update it in an attempt to improve it? It's a delicate balancing act and a very daunting challenge, but luckily Capcom stepped up to the plate and absolutely smashed it out of the park with the Resident Evil 2 remake. Because it is one of the best ever. It honors the original by keeping the setting and aesthetic, but thoughtfully updates it by expanding on certain story elements or changing certain item locations to give both fans of the original and players new to the series a brand new experience that everyone can enjoy. Even the change to the appearance of the characters Leon and Claire is spot on. The changes are enough that they don't look completely fresh, but not so much that they're completely unrecognizable to longtime fans of the series. So future remakes, pay attention, this is how you do it. Number 3. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the side quests. The Witcher 3 is an excellent game. It has a compelling story, great graphics, fantastic gameplay, and one of the best open worlds in gaming. But there's one aspect of this title that everyone else just agrees is perfect, and that is the side quests. They are so numerous and varied that they truly fill the world up, making it feel alive and lived in to the point that it almost seems real. Again, aside from the magic monsters and many other things, but really that's not the point. The point is that these side quests show that the people in this world have their own problems or give this world depth, such as the Last Wish side quest, which harks back to one of the first Witcher stories in the original book of the same name, exploring the origins of the relationship between Geralt and Yen, or the masterful Carnal Sin side quest, which allows you to become your very own Sherlock Holmes. The sheer variety on display here means that there will be a side quest for everyone, and that is a beautiful thing. Number 2. Grand Theft Auto 5, The Sandbox. Let's face it, the real world has a lot of rules that you probably shouldn't break, but where can you go to just do whatever you like? Why, Grand Theft Auto 5, of course. Want to race the wrong way down a street full of cars at insane speed? Go for it. Want to spend all your money on some hideously mismatched yet somehow fashionable clothing? You spend that moolah. Want to go on a definitely not advised in the real world citywide rampage? You do you, buddy. The point is that GTA has always been life's little what-if outlet, allowing you to just try something you absolutely would not and should not do and see what happens. Also, the slightly weird physics of the game make hours of fun on their own. And number 1, Among Us, making you suspicious of everyone. Oh, Among Us, the game that makes you wander around a research facility watching everyone like a hawk to see if they're faking doing their tasks. And you just know that the second that you let your guard down, you will be murdered by the one guy that you absolutely, definitively, 100% maybe knew might have been the imposter. You end up second guessing every little moment, thinking that they might be the imposter just because they suddenly turned around or went the other way, or worse yet, second guessed what you were doing because you were worried that you might yourself look suspicious. But the one thing that everyone that has played or even seen Among Us can agree on is never trust anyone in electrical. Sus. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video games that do one thing perfectly. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can go to Live and Let's Dice as my personal gaming channel, where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. It'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. We detailed a lot about video games that do one thing perfectly, and while perfection might be something that we all tried to attain in our lives, don't be afraid to explore and love your flaws. We're all flawed human beings. We all make mistakes, so please don't punish yourself for mistakes that you've made of the past, and try to learn to accept yourself for who you are. And remember, if you're not happy with that person, then you can change it, but don't overshoot and overextend. Just go day by day, improving where you can. And before long, you'll notice a big improvement. It's like working out a muscle. You keep working it, and eventually you'll get stronger and stronger, hopefully letting you live a healthier and happier life. So be kind to yourself. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.